Welcome back to the UJ Chevrolet pregame show. Michael Knapp with you here on the Bulldog Radio Network. And it's time to sit down with the UMS-Wright head football coach, Sam Williams, for our pregame interview. Coach, not the outcome you hoped for as the Bulldogs dropped a tough one at Williamson last week. The game got off to a tough start, 3 turnovers early, and Williamson jumped out to a quick 21-0 lead. When you got into the film on that game, how much of that was Williamson making plays or us making mistakes?
Yeah, I mean, really the first, 3 turnovers, you can sit here and put a lot on yourself because, those are all controllable, particularly, the fumble. And then we had the tipped interception, and then we had the rough pitch. And really the rough pitch is the one that's 100% on us. You know what I mean? The other 2 guys made some bang plays. They stripped the ball out. It's not like we just dropped it and they batted the ball up. It's not like, it's not like we just sat there and threw it to them. So, I mean, they were a really good team. We knew it. The funny thing was, going into it, I said to everybody that asked me, the most important thing was a fast start, and we did the exact opposite. And so, from there, you just got to kind of sit in there and swing away and keep playing. And I was proud of how we played after that. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't pretty. And you can't really take moral victories away from things when you play that bad in the first 5 minutes. But at the end of the day, you got to flush it. You got to march on. You got to learn from, why that happened. And a lot of times, it's really no secret sauce. It's just, hey, we just didn't make the plays we had to make early on. So, presented with the opportunities again, you got to find a way to get out of that funk a little quicker.
So when Todd and I are calling the game in the radio booth, we're obviously not coaches. He was. I've never been. But we talk about turnover margin being one of the biggest contributors to winning and losing football games. Are we correct in that, or do you see there are bigger factors in a game?
No, I mean, it's one of the biggest ones, and we talk about it every week. And, that one, at the end of the day was, you can really say it was 3-0 in that first half, and that's the ones that mattered. And then from there, we had a couple where we were pressing, trying to get back in the game, and you get those, and I think it finished -4 for us, and that's never good. We had been plus. We've had a positive turnover margin in every game that we've won, and a negative one in every one we've lost, and it's pretty telling, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of other metrics that you can look at and point to. Our kids and coaches are keenly aware of how important that is and how important the ball is. It's the most important thing. So, yeah, I mean, that's a direct result of how it all turned out.
What about the middle 8? Is that something I hear about? People talk about that. Is that something you talk about with the guys finishing the half, starting the half?
Yeah, I mean, we do because, you rep and you drill those a lot, and that's something you kind of look to. But, I've always thought like a lot of people talk about the middle 8. I talk about the start of the games. I think the start of the game a lot of times is your most important thing because kind of how the momentum that you bring into the game, you generally can carry it for a while if you can really start fast. And you think about the wins that we've had against some pretty good teams. A lot of times it was because we jumped on them really early and made them doubt. And that's what we needed to try to do versus Williamson and didn't do a good enough job of it.
Well, the defense forced their 14th turnover of the season in that game, which averaging 2 takeaways a game, I think is a pretty good number. Coach Brett West and his staff have done a nice job creating opportunities for the guys to make those plays this season.
They have, yeah. They've done a fantastic job, and the kids have really found the ball. That's something you get on teams sometimes and you never get turnovers, and you're like, well, you're sitting there, you're doing turnover circuits, you're doing this. It's just one of those deals where some teams you just find a way on defense to be around the ball enough to make it happen. And, you have skilled guys, and we do. And Coach West and staff obviously has done a really good job of putting them in great positions. Friday night offensively, we did not put them in a very good position to be successful a lot of times. A lot of short fields, a lot of backed up. And so it wasn't really indicative of how they played. I thought they played really well on defense at different points in time. Had some money downs that we probably wish we could have back, some 3rd and 4th downs where we needed to get some stops. But at the end of the day, the effort was there. Just, execution's got to get cleaned up in some spots.
So looking at the region standings, a homecoming win tonight over Elberta all but clinches a top 3 finish for UMS-Wright and a playoff spot. We would need an upset in these last 2 weeks to get back in the top 2 and host that first round. But apart from winning these next 2 region games, what are your goals for the team heading into these last 2 weeks of region play?
Yeah, I mean, this is the time of year where you truly have to start peaking. Those last 3 are where you really want to start seeing your team clean some stuff up and get better. I really, you kind of look at that Williamson game and you don't want to take too much from it because you really just want to flush it. And honestly, it was an outlier on how we played throughout the whole year. So just continuing to do the things that we've talked about. I want to see a response from our guys in this game and see how they come back. But we've got to find a way to clean up some of the things and cover up at this point in time. I always say is cover up some of the deficiencies we have. How can we do a good enough job through scheme and through effort to cover up some of the deficiencies we have, because they're not going to change. You know what I mean? And so here we are with 3 left and 3 really good opportunities to take it a game at a time and to kind of get in that playoff mentality of win, survive, and advance.
Yeah. So Elberta is the opponent tonight. They're at the bottom of the region, but sometimes that can create a nothing-to-lose mentality for a team. What do you expect to see from the Warriors tonight?
Yeah, they kind of play like that anyway. Coach Williams has those guys. They play really hard. They really do, and they have every game. They've kind of hung around early in games. They do a lot of things, trick plays, onside kicks, fake punts. They're going to do a lot of things to try to give you some issues and try to create some momentum. So it's another game where you got to kind of, whether they hit one of those or get an onside kick or get a big play, you just got to kind of stay in there and keep chipping away at them. We got to be really efficient on offense, try to generate some points. They've given up a good deal of points this year, so we got to be really efficient and go take advantage of that, and then make sure that we're really sound in our alignment and assignment on defense, and make sure we don't give up any trick plays or anything down the field.
Well, it's been homecoming week here at UMS-Wright, and that's kind of a big deal around here. Lots of events, dress-up days, fun activities, but I imagine it could potentially be a distraction for your week of preparation. How have you managed that with the team this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been fine. I mean, it's one of those deals. It can be tough, mentally. Yesterday, Wednesday practice, it was a little, dragging a little bit, and just being out of school, having a test, having senior palooza. But you can't make excuses on that. The kids have got to learn how to get off routine a little bit. First round playoff game, we may go on a long trip. We hadn't done that this year, so you can't make an excuse about not doing it. So I think it's just one of those things that you kind of preach to them, that your mental preparation always stays the same, no matter how your physical day changes. And so that's something we've kind of worked on and drilled into them, because we're going to need to do that down the road.
Absolutely. Playoff picture coming into focus with Cross Region, Region 2. Andalusia beat Eufaula last week. But that region's really going to go to the last week with 3 or 4 teams still in contention. Central Clay has clinched Region 4. Northside and Demopolis play next week for the Region 3 championship. Are you keeping up with any of those teams at this point, or is that a little bit down the road still?
Yeah, we haven't watched anybody, but we obviously have our eye on, where we match up, kind of gathering a little bit of general information early on. And I feel like it's probably just looking at tiebreakers and things. I think Eufaula is probably the opponent you draw. Just looking at region opponents, common opponents, and kind of where they fall right now. And I think they win just about every tiebreaker they get in up there. But we'll see. And we'll, when we get to that point in time, we got to take care of our business. We'll go wherever we're called.
All right, Coach. Well, excited about the homecoming matchup tonight and a strong finish to region play. Thank you for joining us on the pregame show. Always look forward to hearing from you, and good luck tonight. That is UMS-Wright head football coach Sam Williams joining us here on the UJ Chevrolet pregame show. Stick around. We'll be back with the opening kickoff in just a minute. You are listening to the Bulldog Radio Network right here on Sports Talk 99.5 Mobile, an iHeart radio station.